Lawmakers are taking action weeks after Fox 45 News first reported that an admitted juvenile rapist can now return to school in person. Legislation is being drafted to prevent something similar from happening again.
As Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains, one local state's attorney says the law is flawed and it needs to be fixed.
Harford County State's Attorney, Alison Healey, has been closely watching Project Baltimore's recent reporting.
We are very concerned about the safety of the thousands and thousands of other kids who are in these schools.
A teenage sex offender is now allowed to return to school in person.
An investigation that found a juvenile rapist can now return to school in person after a Baltimore City judge's ruling removed him from the Juvenile Sex Offender Registry.
You believe that's a flaw in the current law?
Yes, I do.
Healey's been watching for two reasons. First, the now 16-year-old committed the rape in Harford County. Healey's office prosecuted the case before it was transferred to Baltimore City in January 2024. The other reason is because Healey is helping to draft legislation she says fixes a flaw in state law.
To put a sex offender back in a school with children, who cannot defend themselves, cannot have a teacher looking over them at every step they take throughout the school. There are other ways for them to get an education that does not put the other students at risk.
Right now, under Maryland law, if a juvenile commits first-degree rape, second-degree rape, and certain third-degree sex offenses, that juvenile's name must appear on the Juvenile Sex Offender Registry, which bars the offender from in-person school learning. But Healey says the flaw in our system is that when probation ends, the juvenile is removed from the registry, allowing them to legally return to school in person.
That is a problem.
Working with Harford County Delegate Mike Griffith, Healey has drafted legislation that would mandate that juvenile sex offenders remain on the juvenile registry until probation is terminated or until the juvenile turns 18 years old, whichever occurs later. It would still be possible for an 18-year-old to come off the juvenile registry and return to school, but at that point, the offender is an adult. And if they are not on probation, juvenile court has no jurisdiction. What this language means is that if a juvenile commits a sex crime that lands them on the juvenile registry, they will remain on the registry even if their probation ends until at least age 18. However, if this bill passes, it will not apply to cases already adjudicated. The 16-year-old sex offender Project Baltimore has been reporting on will remain off the registry and free to return to school in person.
Do you think public safety is being put at risk if this 16-year-old goes back into a school?
Sure. I mean, he is found delinquent of 2 sex offenses, was on the Juvenile Sex Offender Registry, and is now going to go back into schools where there are many innocent other children.
Maryland's Juvenile Sex Offender Registry, unlike the Adult Sex Offender Registry, is not public and is only available to law enforcement. It's maintained by the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, which tells Fox 45 News, as of December 15th, 2024, 112 juveniles appeared on the list statewide.
It is important for these offenders to remain on the registry until they're 18 so that the schools can take appropriate action to protect the rest of the kids.
House Bill 814, Juvenile Law Reform, Amendment number 1.
During the 2024 legislative session in Annapolis, lawmakers passed language that banned juveniles who appear on the Juvenile Sex Offender Registry from attending school in person, an idea that was challenged. The ACLU of Maryland, Disability Rights Maryland, and the Maryland Office of the Public Defender all opposed the language.
This bill is punitive and it denies children a basic right.
This is a permanent lifetime ban on children.
Healey is still making some adjustments to the language in the legislation, which largely expands on the 2024 law. The bill has not yet been introduced in Annapolis. When it is introduced, Healey tells Project Baltimore she will be at the State House to support it. Fox 45 News will also be there to keep you updated on any progress or pushback the bill receives.
This is not about Republicans, it's not about Democrats. It is about the safety of our kids. It's about fixing a problem. What we are trying to do is to make sure that our students are safe in schools.
In addition to keeping juvenile sex offenders on the registry until at least age 18, the bill Healey is working on also expands a number of offenses that require mandatory registration for the juvenile registry. It also gives school system leadership access to the Juvenile Sex Offender Registry, so districts can know if a student has a history of sex offenses. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore. I'm Chris Pabst. Thanks for watching. Here's another story to watch. Also, if you have a story idea, please send us a message.